Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. Today we'll be looking at a list of the top 10 Finnish drivers to ever grace the pinnacle of motorsport, that is, Formula 1. So with a cast of characters from the Nordic nation to look at, let's begin, after you subscribe to the channel, which you really should do by the way.
Number 10.
So yeah, the title of this video is actually a lie. There's only been 9 drivers in Formula 1 from Finland. So as an unofficial number 10, let's just stick in Keke Rosberg.
Let's pretend he is from Finland. I mean, his dad is from Finland and he has dual nationality, so yeah, number 10, Keke Rosberg. And Jocke Kallio, because when else am I going to get to talk about good old Jocke? And Sanna Marin, for being the world's youngest Prime Minister currently. And Lordi. And this picture of a cute reindeer. Let's move on. Number 9, Michael Mikko Kuzarovitsky.
This one isn't much better, frankly. Mikko never actually started a Formula 1 race.
Failing to qualify for 2 races in 1977 for the Ram team, he impressively managed to be the slowest car at the Swedish Grand Prix, 3 seconds behind Rupert Keegan, who was the last car to qualify, and 6 seconds behind Mario Andretti on pole. But that was nothing compared to the disaster of the British Grand Prix, when Mikko crashed avoiding Rupert Keegan, broke his hand and then refused when asked by Ram to drive the spare car.
He then quit the team, retired from the sport, and was never seen from again. 2 races entered, none actually raced.
Number 8, Leo Kuunanen.
Leo Kuunanen almost raced for the dominant Lotus team in 1971 after the death of Jochen Rindt. But he decided he didn't want to race for free, even in a competitive car.
He became the first Finnish driver to make the grid when he purchased a spare Surtees car and raced it under the famous AAW Racing Team banner. Leo entered 6 Grand Prix but only raced in 1, making him a one-race wonder, which is a playlist of videos you should totally check out. His Formula 1 career was a comedy of errors. The Surtees car was overweight, slow and actually damaged. They failed to qualify everywhere, including Sweden, but because Leo was friends with someone, he was allowed to race anyway. The team knew the car couldn't last the distance, so they only fueled it for 10 laps, allowing Leo to overtake 5 cars before a spark plug issue caused them to retire. They tried to qualify for a few more races, but ran out of money and disappeared from the Formula 1 grid. He had a few appearances in World Rally Championship as well, but his career was over by the early 80s. Number 7, Mika Salo.
Mika Salo was really a journeyman of Formula 1, getting his start with Lotus in their final 2 races.
Getting a 10th in Japan and racing in Australia to retirement, Lotus then collapsed and Salo moved to Tyrrell for 1995 and scored the odds points finish in his 3 years with the team, but never really troubled the midfield. He'd scored a best ever 4th place at Monaco for Arrows in 1998, but was without a drive for the start of 1999, doing a few races for BAR, standing in for the injured Zonta, before getting a dream move to Ferrari. In for the injured Michael Schumacher, he'd scored 10 points in 6 races for Ferrari, and 2 podiums, including 2nd at Germany.
He was in fact part of the Ferrari team that won the Constructors' title in 1999, their first since 1983.
He'd spent 2000 with the Sauber team, but was back to just scoring the odds points finish, and he would join Toyota in preparation for their debut. He would take 2001 off and score points on Toyota's debut in 2002. He scored another point a couple of races later and then struggled the rest of the year.
He was sacked by the team for his poor performances and retired from Formula 1.
Number 6, JJ Leto.
JJ Leto is a strange man. He got his start testing for Ferrari in 1989 before racing for a number of backmarker teams that were just awful.
Like Onyx in 1989 and 1990. He failed to pre-qualify for a number of races, failed to finish the ones he did qualify for.
Reasons included the fitting of a drive shaft upside down. That's real top-notch engineering, guys, well done.
The team went bust for some reason before the end of the 1990 season. In 1991 he signed with Scuderia Italia and scored a lucky podium at San Marino and no more points for the next 2 years. He got a drive for 1993 with the new Sauber team and got a couple of points finishes, but crashed into teammate Karl Wendlinger at Monaco and wasn't on good relations with the team. He managed to secure a coveted drive with Benetton for 1994, but was injured in pre-season testing and his fitness dogged him all season. Despite being quick and scoring a couple of points and running in third in Spain before engine failure caused him to retire, after replacing Michael Schumacher, who had been banned for a couple of races, he failed to impress Benetton and was released. He raced 2 more races for Sauber, but that was it for his Formula 1 career. He was clearly more talented than his results show. He was unlucky more than anything else.
He also killed a man. Whilst driving a boat intoxicated, he hit a canal wall. His friend died and JJ later was initially charged with manslaughter and intoxication whilst driving a boat, I guess. He was initially found guilty and was to serve 2 years in prison before it was overturned on appeal due to not enough evidence. He also won at Le Mans, but that doesn't really seem important now, does it?
Number 5, Heikki Kovalainen.
Oh, Heikki, it all looked so good to begin with.
After a good debut season with Renault in 2007, including 2nd place at the Japanese Grand Prix and 7th overall in the standings, he'd get a dream move to McLaren in 2008 to partner eventual champion Lewis Hamilton. This is when the wheels fell off Heikki Kovalainen's Formula 1 career. He was not on Hamilton's level. That was clear from the start, despite 3rd at Malaysia and his first and only win at Hungary. He only managed to finish 7th for the 2nd year in a row, and 2009 was even worse. He finished outside of the points more than he finished in the points. Only managed to get 12th in the McLaren overall, a sign of the bad years to come for the team and Heikki Kovalainen. After not being retained by McLaren, he went to the new Tony Fernandez run Lotus team and ran at the back for the next 3 years, scoring no points before retiring from the sport and testing for the team in 2013, before getting 2 races for the new Renault ran Lotus team at the end of the year. Replacing Kimi Raikkonen, who was having back surgery, he would only manage 14th in both races.
After Formula 1, he'd race in the Super GT series, winning the championship in 2016 for Team Saad and a Lexus, and still racing in the series to this day.
Number 4, Valtteri Bottas.
Now, I have been very, very harsh on poor Valtteri Bottas in the past.
I just found it interesting Bottas was given another year, when he has really proved he isn't at the level of other top drivers. Now, I stick by what I said. Bottas is a good, consistent driver who lacks the outright speed to be a championship contender and makes far too many mistakes. He'd scored just 4 points in his debut season with Williams, but when the team got Mercedes engines for 2014, things changed for the better. Williams were in good shape that year and Bottas got 6 podiums on his way to 4th in the overall standings. He'd get 3 more podiums over the next 2 years before signing with Mercedes in 2017. Now he was replacing outgoing champion Keke Rosberg, and many would expect him to continue challenging Hamilton. This never really happened. 7 wins and finally managing to finish 2nd in 2019, he's never got close to the Brit.
Better luck next year, Valtteri.
Number 3, Keke Rosberg.
Keke Rosberg was the champion in the year no one wanted to win.
But before that, he got his start in 1978, going back and forth between the Theodore Racing team and the ATS team, occasionally failing to qualify and scoring no points. He'd joined the Wolf team at the tail end of 1979, again scoring no points, before getting his first proper full drive with the Fittipaldi team in 1980 and 1981. He'd managed to get a podium in his first race for the team in Argentina, but would only get 1 more points finish in his 2 years with the Fittipaldi team and moved to Williams for 1982. This is the year he managed to win the world title after winning just 1 race in the Swiss Grand Prix held in France. However, Didier Pironi finished 5 points behind him despite being injured and having to retire from the sport with 5 races to go. John Watson was also 5 points behind despite missing a race. Even Niki Lauda, who was 14 points behind despite missing 3 races. It was close and Keke was honestly lucky to win. Pironi probably would have been champion.
get just 4 more wins over the next 3 years with Williams before spending his last year with McLaren's struggling, getting a single podium before retiring from the sport to take care of his 1-year-old son Nico.
Number 2, Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi Raikkonen's longevity in the sport, making his debut for Sauber in 2001 and still being there in 2020, is an amazing achievement in itself. And next year he will become, if he competes in all the races, for something could happen for whatever reason, but if he does compete in all the races, he will have entered the most Formula 1 races of any driver in the history of Formula 1.
He looked good from the outset, scoring regular points finishes for Sauber and scoring a McLaren drive for 2002. He'd get a podium on his debut but would struggle before results picked up towards the end of the year. In 2003 he'd win his first race in Malaysia and get 7 second places on his way to second in the championship behind Michael Schumacher. Only one more win in 2004 before winning 7 races in 2005 and again finishing second in the title race. He'd score no wins in his final year with McLaren before moving to Ferrari for 2007 and beating the quarrelling McLaren pair to the title. He'd win 3 more races in 2008 and 2009, but honestly looked like he'd drunk several bottles of vodka before each race and didn't give a single fuck, dreaming of his rallying career which was sure to be successful. It wasn't, and he'd returned to Formula 1 in 2012 with Lotus taking a surprise win at Abu Dhabi and another in Australia a year later, before moving back to Ferrari to be Sebastian Vettel's number 2. Just one more win in 5 years, he'd stepped down from Ferrari to join Alfa Romeo, where he still is today. Number 1, Mika Hakkinen.
Often overlooked on the greatest Formula 1 drivers ever.
The 2-time Formula 1 champion for McLaren was a truly superb driver. He'd joined the crumbling Team Lotus in 1991, getting a single points finish that year, and actually surprisingly being a regular points finisher for the team in 1992. He joined McLaren as a test driver in 1993 because the team decided Michael Andretti was better.
He wasn't. He really wasn't.
Hakkinen drove for the team in the last 3 races, getting a podium in Japan. 1994 was his first full year in a race seat with the team, and despite a lot of retirements early on, he managed to score 6 podiums, and he'd get another 6 podiums over the next 2 years. But the elusive first win just hadn't happened up to that point. That changed in the final race of 1997 when Mika Hakkinen finally won at Jerez in Spain. This seemed to wake the beast inside the Finn as he took 8 wins on his way to the championship in 1998 and 5 more on his way to the title in 1999, admittedly after Schumacher was injured at Silverstone. He'd get 6 more wins in his final 2 years, but the Schumacher years were finally underway and Hakkinen retired after the 2001 season, replaced by fellow Finn Kimi Raikkonen. He'd raced in DTM for a few years, but has now retired, and honestly I am a huge fan of his.
So that was the top 10, well, top 9 Finnish drivers. Did you enjoy? Did you agree? Leave a comment down below, like the video, and as it's Christmas, share the love and subscribe. Thank you for watching, Merry Christmas and have a good one.